Hi all, welcome to the channel, welcome to the workshop. We now have the next 4 stages of build kit from Knight Rider. As you can see, I've got my partwork upgrades map ready because we're working on more of the bodywork. We've got the 2 wings to connect, and we're going to be attaching the bonnet and the front scanner. So without further ado, let's get building. Right, so we're kicking off this build pack with issue 83. Just a quick flick through the magazine. And you can see this is what we get this time. We get a wing, and we've got the side light, and that's all we're doing at the minute. We're just putting that side light in. We're using a couple of screws of that, and that's all there is in this issue. As you can see, they do list out what we have so far. So these are the parts we get. As I said, we've got the wing, and we've got the light and the clear lens, and we've got some EM screws. And quite simply, all we're doing is putting the light just in here. So we've got the lens, and it's going to go this way around, and it does have a little R on it, and you can just about see that. So with the R the correct way up, that's the way it goes on, and then this is the same. Now I have noticed that a few people are putting LEDs in here, and I think it must have been an afterthought, because it does look like there is a cutout obviously for an LED that would sit in there. That might be a modification that I do at some point. I might take a feed off the front fog lights, but at the minute, as you can see, it's obviously not going to light up. But we just need to put a couple of EM screws in there, and then that is this issue done. Now we are going into metal, so just putting that in a small bit of oil. And again, I use WD-40 because that's what I've got in the workshop, but any oil should be good. It just helps in the cutting process when putting the screws in. So that is done. So that's issue 83 done. Now I'm not going to pull over all the bits and pieces because you'll see that at some point during the video, but obviously they do lay out all the bits, so I'm just going to place that onto one side because we're going to need that straight away for issue 84. I'm just going to open this one, flick through issue 84 as well. I do wonder if anyone's going to make a modification that they're going to have the convertible kit. That would be quite some modification, I think. And as you can see, we're just working on the wing still. We're putting in the inner arch, and we've got some instructions to do for the bonnet, and we're going to be attaching the bonnet, and we're going to be attaching the front wing. Now it does say about putting oil in the pistons on this. Now I don't know if you remember, but when I built this originally, I thought they were quite stiff, and I did put some oil in them at that point. So if you haven't done that, this is the time to do it. And this is what we end up with at the end of this issue. Right, we've got quite a few screws, as you can see. We've got some BP, EM, GM and VM screws. The first thing I'm going to be doing is taking our wing that we did in the previous issue, and we're going to be placing this little grill piece and this piece into here. Now that will go in just like that, and then this will sit in there like so. And you can just about see that little grill piece in there. It is a pity they didn't make that open. They could have easily made this a cutout, but obviously it's looks over fashion or function, I should say. So we're going to secure that in place with 2 BP screws, just like so. We're now going to take our wheel arch, and that's going to sit just in here over these 3 holes here, and we're going to use the EM screws to secure that in place. Again, just dipping them in oil. Make sure they're nice and tight in there. Go and place that to one side. Because we now need our hood assembly. And what you need to do is open this up, and just in here where the piston acts is where they would like some oil to be put. And I said I'd done that when I assembled them because I thought they were quite stiff, so I'm not going to worry about doing that step. What we are going to do is bring the main frame over, and we're going to be placing the bonnet in like that, and then we're going to flip it over and secure it with 4 GM screws. And this is the point where you might want to start taping your doors, because I'm sure we're going to be putting this upside down quite a lot. I think I'm just going to put one loosely in there for a moment to hold that one in place. Do the same on this side. That will stop it from falling down too much. Just going to move these wires out of my way. Got another one going in here. And then the other one going in just here. Obviously, you're going to want these fairly tight. Just to hold that bonnet in place. The operation of that bonnet, now mine's not sat down quite right there at the minute. So that will need a bit of adjustment. Right, so that's now, I think, sitting down correctly. Now it does say that the bonnet should hold itself up, and if not, tighten some of the screws up. So that's exactly what I'm going to do, because mine is not holding itself open. Apparently you've got to lift it at the back and then sort of push it forward. Right, so as you can see, that's now holding itself open when it's in the fully open position, and it's not going to slam down shut, which is good. So I'm happy with that. Right, now we are going to be positioning the wing in place, and that's going to sit just in here, like so. And we're going to flip that over, and we're going to be putting 2 EM screws in, and they are going to go into the 2 holes you can see just there and there, and that's 2 going in just there. I'm using my PH1 bit for this, so you get a little bit more leverage on the screw. We then need to finish off this bit with 2 of these VM screws. We're still having the cart this way up. And we have one hole just here and one hole just here. The first one's just going in there. Again, just making sure they're nice and tight. And that is the end of stage 84. With the wing in place like that. So 85. And as you can see, pretty much the mirror image of what we did in 83. We just put in that light lens in to the wing. So flipping that over, popping the lens in, popping the reflector on the back, and 2 EM screws. And that's all there is to do in stage 85. So just going to put that to one side, because we're now moving on to 86. And again, not a great deal of parts, but there's still quite a bit to do. So finishing off with issue 86. And as you can see, we've got the scanner out. We're going to be doing the wing. And you can see we are actually attaching the scanner to the front. Connecting a couple more screws for the wing. Tidying up some wires. Attaching the new wing. And this is what we will end up with at the end of it. So as we did on the other side, first thing we're going to be doing is placing this little bit of etched metal in there, and that plastic part on the top, and 2 BP screws from the bottom, from the behind. And 2. It is nice to see that they've got this as a separate piece, because it theoretically would be possible to change this or do something with this to make a potential Super Pursuit mode car. Although you would have to add something here, I believe, because it has the little front wing that pops out, doesn't it? Going to be adding the wheel liner in. And they're going to be the EM screws. Again, still using my PH1 bit for most of these, so you can get some good drive behind it. So that's just like so. Place that to one side for a second, and we're bringing over the scanner unit. And we've got this sticker here, and we're going to be placing that across the top here. And that's going to hide the light bleed, I guess, and also this circuit board section that you can see. So that's on there just like that, as you can see. Move that to one side and that to one side. because we need to bring in the bodywork again. And we've got this little stud just here, and we've got the post just there, and we're just going to line those two up, and we're going to put a GM screw through there to hold that in place. If you watched my previous video, you'll see that I'd already attached this in place temporarily just to see what it looked like. So that has gone in really easily. Now nicely tightened up. And then we also need 2 more GM screws. And I don't know how well I'm going to be able to show you this, but we have 2 holes just down here that will go through the wing and into the front bumper here. And we just need to line those up. And put 2 GM screws in there. Right, so we've got 2 screws in there now. Now we need to do a little bit of wire tidy. And we're going to be running these cables. Let's flip it over onto its side. We're going to be running the cables along here and then poking them through this hole. Now it has said to remove our temporary bit of tape. Like that. I'm going to be gathering all of these cables together. I'm going to be passing all these connectors through this square hole. Like so. Now at the minute there's really not a lot of slack on that scanner light cable coming through there. As you can see, it's very, very short. Now I can't see that there's any slack that can be had, but we're running the cables along here, and we're going to be placing one of these just on there, just to hold those in place. We're going to use an AM screw for that, and we're going to be placing one across here as well. On that, and then this one's going to go just on there, and again 2 more AM screws will do that. And then we've got these couple of stickers we're going to use just to tidy these cables up a little bit better. And we have one going here. We have been told to make sure that we don't cover the 2 holes that are there. So we've got one bit of tape there, and the other bit of tape is going to go here just to hold these out of the wheel arch. I'm just going to secure it like that, and I'll probably just cut off that little bit of excess in a moment. And now we need to add our other wing. Now we've got this little lip on here now, so we need to put it under the front bumper. And try and maneuver it into place. Like so. Now my bonnet is actually still sitting a little bit high there, so I might need to just see what's going on with that, whether that's the strut here is not sitting in the right place, or whether I've got something maybe the wrong way round, but I will double check that at the end. Anyway, for the minute we need to obviously attach this wing, and the same as what we did on the other side, we've got 2 EM screws that will go through here in these 2 places. We've got the 2 VM screws that will go in here and here, And then we've got the 2 GM screws that will go in just here. And we've got the 2 VM screws. And then finishing off with the 2 GM screws that will attach it to the front bumper. Not forgetting to tighten up these 2 EM screws that I left loose. And that is all there is to do in stage 86. And that is all there is to do in that build pack. So that is effectively the front end of KITT complete. Looking absolutely fantastic. The other side. And obviously we've got all these cables coming through here, and also you'll make that connection when it comes to joining the body together. It's going to be pretty fun. As I say, that, I don't know about anyone else at the minute, but that cable there, that's the scanner light cable, and that's as far as it comes out. So I might just have to have another look at that, or possibly put an extension in just to see if I can get that a little bit longer, because you can see how much longer these ones all are. They're going to be really easy to connect, but I think that one's going to be a bit difficult. That's it. So all I need to do is just investigate why the bonnet's not sitting down as much as I'd expect it to. That side seems to have set down quite well, but this side is still very much too high. So I'll look into that. If I work it out, I will put it in the comments below and see if I can work out what's gone wrong on that one. Okay, after a little bit of investigation, I've found out why my bonnet's not sitting properly. Nothing that I've done, and I don't know if it's even possible to even show you this, but bonnet will stay open. Now it is something I might be able to sort out myself, but just in here you can probably just about see that my part of the frame is actually bent up. Now, it's not something I noticed before, but that is why my bonnet's not shutting. It should come and slope down, and you can probably just about to see that there is a kink and a bend where my finger is, just there. And on the other side, you can see that it does just slope down nicely. So I'm going to see if I can just bend that back to place, and hopefully, if I damage anything, then probably a little bit of black paint will mask that, but it's going to be under the bonnet, so I'm not too worried. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and bend that back in place. Right, so that is now sitting absolutely perfect. If I just open up the bonnet, you can see just about what I've done. I've just bent that down, and there is still a kink there, as you can see, and I have damaged a little bit of the paintwork. I did put some tape on there to try and protect it, but ultimately, once the bonnet's shut, you can't see it. So I'm happy with that fit now. So that's something to just keep an eye on. Maybe it got bent in transit, I don't know, but certainly not something I noticed, but I wasn't also looking for it when I got it. So I might just go back and have a look at some of my videos and see if that was damaged when I got it. I'm not obviously going to worry about going back to FanHome and asking them to replace it, because so I fixed the problem and you're not going to see it. So happy with that. Wow, that was absolutely fantastic set of issues. With those 2 wings on now, KITT is looking absolutely fantastic. It's brilliant. We've now mounted that nose cone. It's really coming together. We certainly have less parts just kicking around now. We now have more or less a complete part list on the car now. Obviously, bear in mind that we obviously haven't mounted the body yet. So we've just got the body and the chassis and the watch. As far as I'm aware, I don't have any of the spare parts, which is brilliant. As you can see, I have mounted it loosely onto the chassis. I've basically checked that those cables that I was concerned about do reach. The connection of these cables is a doddle. If you've done the DeLorean like I have, and the infamous issue 91, which you can obviously pop across on my channel and find that one, joining the two halves of the body together was an absolute nightmare. This, at the moment, obviously I don't know how it's going to be when we've got everything done, but at the moment it was an absolute joy. You can have the body upside down on its roof, the chassis right next to it, connect all the cables, absolutely no problem. The one that I thought was really short, the scanner cable, the one from the chassis is quite long, so they do reach and marry up quite nicely. So that worked out absolutely fine. And as you can see, I've tested it all and everything is still working, including the pop-up headlights. And they do go down and settle quite nicely. But KITT is looking absolutely fantastic. If you want to see more how KITT progresses or anything else that goes on in the workshop, please do remember to hit that subscribe button and ding that bell. You'll then be notified when I release new videos. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, give it a massive like, thumbs up, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Until the next time, please do check out the merch store and see what you can get from there, and I'll see you around. Cheers!